Was it a shock for you when you found out about narcissistic personality disorder, NPD, and psychopaths? It was a shock for me. I didn't know what it was. This was back in 2000 and probably 15, 16. I started to learn about this. And then you go through the different stages. These are the stages I went through. First of all, denial. This can't be true. There's people walking around that just don't have normal emotions. They don't feel love, attachment, empathy. They don't care. They just pretend to. They operate with facades. They just lie about everything. Everything's an act. With psychopaths, no emotion at all. That can't be true. It seemed weird to me. It seemed hard to believe. And now it's hard for me to believe that I believed that. Because actually, once you come to terms with it, you realise it makes perfect sense. Because why do we think all the evil in the world exists? Well, it exists because there's so many people walking around that have no empathy, don't love, don't care, don't attach. They just operate under facades. So it makes perfect sense. But the first stage was denial. I don't really understand this. This is shocking. Then you go through the stage of trying to fix it. You know, you're in a relationship with a narcissist. You think maybe there's some hope. You can fix it. You can help them. You can in some way support them. You can't. Then you go through a very weird stage of kind of seeing it everywhere, realising, in some cases, not for everybody, of course, but in some cases you realise that you're not just in a relationship with a narcissist or just married to a narcissist. They may be in your family, in the workplace. You've maybe had a relationship previously with the narcissist and never realised it. All these things start to dawn on you, and it's a big eye-opener and it's a shock. And it makes you review everything about your life. The choices you've made, everything starts to fall into place, why things were happening the way they were happening. And then you have to kind of live with the fact that if only you'd had this knowledge before, how differently you would have done things. But it's too late. You can't go back and change it. Then there is the fact that you wonder if you yourself, you then wonder, are you a narcissist? You start examining yourself like, oh my God, am I a narcissist? Maybe you are. In many cases, yes. Or you come to the conclusion that you're not. You know, you're just getting paranoid and getting a bit crazy, and you're not. If you're not. Then you go through the phase of you just start seeing it everywhere. You start seeing narcissists and psychopaths everywhere. And of course you think you're crazy. You think you are completely paranoid and completely crazy, but you're not. It's just that you see it, you recognise it, you know what it is, you realise it's very prevalent, you realise they're everywhere. Statistics show 1 in 6 people are a narcissist. In truth, they don't know. Narcissists don't wake up one day and just say, oh, I think I'll trot off to the doctors and get a diagnosis because I think I'm a narcissist. Quite the opposite. So they don't have true figures on this at all. Psychopaths don't suddenly go and get diagnosed. They don't have true figures on this. They say maybe 1 in 100 people is a psychopath, could be more. So you're talking about large volumes of the population. So when you start seeing it everywhere, you're not going mad, you're not paranoid, it's just you now recognise it, you know it exists, it's very prevalent, it's everywhere. And you have to start to learn to navigate it. You have to start to live your life not in relationships with narcissists, not married to narcissists. If it's family members, it's more difficult to navigate. If it's work colleagues, if it's friends, but you start to set, hopefully, better boundaries. Boundaries that you wish you'd known about many years ago, if you're an older person like I was when I found out. And then finally you land, I think, where I am, and where I don't think I'm alone in this, I can't be, where you do fully understand this. Okay, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical profession, but you know, a decade later of research, learning, experience, a lifetime of experience, you realise that it's really how the world works. They are running the world. And when we see what's going on in the world constantly, the complete and utter unnecessary violence, chaos, death, just awful things that I'm not going to name particularly on here because YouTube maybe doesn't like certain words that we know, for instance, to do with moving children around the world, moving people around the world, mass wars. I mean, we're facing a crisis coming up quite soon, I think, possibly, due to current wars. Iran, Russia come to mind. I'm going to make a video more about this. But the reason why all this is happening, unnecessarily I might add, is because the world is run predominantly by narcissists and psychopaths. And for all those people out there that think that's crazy, that's paranoia, that's a conspiracy, you really need to start educating yourself about what this is, how they operate in terms of the facades, the gaslighting, the lies, everything, and realise they are predominantly running the world. And it's a pretty scary place to be and quite a lonely place to be when you see this very, very clearly, and so many people don't. And I don't think it's an accident that there's no education around cluster B personality disorder. Cluster B personality disorder contains psychopaths, sociopaths, borderline personality disorder, narcissistic personality disorder, histrionic personality disorder. All of those disorders that come under cluster B are extremely dangerous personality disorders, and we should all be educated in that. There's a lot of education now around autism, as there should be, and of course it's a spectrum and it's a very, very complex subject, but people are much more aware of it now. I think there's still zero awareness about narcissistic personality disorder. People just can't recognise it. And not only do they not recognise it, they point blank deny it. They just go into denial, because if it's a politician that they voted for, they won't accept it. If it's left or right and you're on the left or you're on the right, you won't accept the other side is wrong. If you're in favour of a war but not in favour of a war. So all this arguing amongst ourselves constantly about complete and utter nonsense that ruins life for ordinary people on a daily basis is really just arguing all the time which narcissist or which psychopath you pick. Like, oh, pick your psychopath, pick your narcissist. Because I'm telling you, nobody with an ounce of empathy, who cares about humanity, who cares about children, who cares about human beings, who has empathy, who cares about animals, who cares about anything on this planet, would be making the decisions they are making. And people really need to wake up to this harsh reality. It's very scary, but it's the truth. It's the truth. This is where we're at. They are predominantly running the world. It's not new. It's not new that they're predominantly running the world. They've always predominantly run the world. The leaders of the world, they're not these empathic individuals. They're just not. And the more people can understand this and see this and recognise this, that's going to be the only way that things can ever change. It's not going to change by voting for your side and arguing for your side. It's not going to work. Sorry, it's just not.